95.9 The Fox. It's Matt Zako, and we are at the Gathering of the Vibes 2010, and we met some interesting fellows today at the Vibes. Their names are David, Meerman, Scott, and Brian Halligan. They're the authors of this book that's out. It's called Marketing Lessons from the Grateful Dead. And of course, we've got a lot of deadheads here at the Vibes.
What do you think that bands can learn from the Grateful Dead in terms of marketing?
There's a whole lot to say about relentless touring and not being so concerned with selling records and building your fan base just because of your live performance. I think that's pretty much what this is about and what these bands are about that Gathering of the Vibes tends to book every year.
Yeah. You know, this festival, Gathering of the Vibes, wouldn't be here if the Grateful Dead didn't do their style of marketing, because the whole vibe is continuing on, and there's the next generation. There's a lot of kids here who never saw Jerry Garcia play, and they're like, oh my gosh, you saw Jerry play, and they're just as big fans as we were when we were that age as teenagers. So it's interesting how that continues, and we think that's a lot to do with how they built a fan base, allowing tapers into the shows, creating their own ticket agency. All of these things that they kind of pioneer really helped to create an amazing community that's still vibrant today.
Their whole business model was predicated around making money on the concert versus making money on the albums. It was the complete opposite of anyone else. And because they changed that one simple assumption about their model, there was a cascading set of benefits for their fans and for themselves. Almost every other rock and roll band at the time, whether it's Rolling Stones or The Who or the Beatles, if you went to see them in concert, they had a very structured way of playing their songs, and they played the same songs night after night. When you went to a Grateful Dead show, it was an absolute free-for-all. The concerts were very unique, and so there was an incentive for people in the audience to go night after night after night. So there was this caravan of people like David and I following them all over the country.
I realized the first time I went to see them at Giant Stadium was that it wasn't just the concert itself, it was the whole show outside of the concert, in the parking lot, the big tailgate party. Nothing like it in the world.
Totally agree. The Grateful Dead sort of get started as the house band for Ken Kesey's acid test parties back in the 60s. And part of the vibe of that party was when you came to the party, you weren't just there to hear the Grateful Dead. Everybody who came was part of the entertainment. And I think that still holds true today. The sort of freak show that we're all part of in the parking lot, it's like a traveling circus.
Going to Dead shows is like joining the circus. Like your last chance to join the circus before you have to give it all up and go on to adulthood. Fortunately, you can go on to adulthood and still be part of the circus.
The crowd was an important part of making the music work. So I think the way they tied it all together and made the fan perspective and the band perspective be sort of one is what created the specialty of the Grateful Dead scene.
It's not us, the band, versus you, the audience, but we're doing this together, and the audience was as an important part of the show as the band.
Did a whole lot of stuff about making their content available, letting people record, take pictures. They were some of the first bands to enable that to the crowds, which has a lot to do with today in making your content available for you.
So you were one of the original taper, yeah?
Well, not of the original ones, but I was back in the day when there was very few tapers.
And in the beginning, was it kind of clandestine, or did the band sanction it in the beginning?
No, it wasn't. It was you had to think about how you were going to get your gear in. If you could get your gear in, the band was okay with you having it there, but the venues weren't cool with it.
Yeah.
And it was often you had to use some stealth moves to get the stuff in.
And when did it become okay and the taper seats start coming around?
I believe it was late '84.
And then they said, we're going to let this music be free because it's unique every night. They said anyone who's at the concert who wants to tape the show, go ahead and tape the show. So you could bring your recording device, tape the show, bring it home, make copies for your friends, and spread it that way. I think there's a real lesson for modern businesses. What a modern business should do is create content on the internet, whether it's a video or an ebook or a blog. Pour their heart out basically about their industry through their blog. And each little blog article you write pulls in links from other people, can rank in Google, and it's kind of a permanent asset on the internet that never goes away.
Main thing is think about the audience first. And that's what the band did. The Grateful Dead, it was about the audience, and it was about bringing the audience on a journey over time, over multiple shows. And people wanted to go to if they did 5 shows in the Boston area, people would go to all of those 5 shows. It's not just once and done.
Right.
Just like if you do great tweets, people will want to follow your Twitter stream, or they'd want to follow your blog posts and read every single one of them. And what it's about is understanding those people that you're trying to reach and creating the content for them, as opposed to for your own ego. And we sort of liken the Grateful Dead community as one of the first social networks. I love this idea that you can create something and it can explode. And the challenge is, how can a company do that? And so, a lot of the ideas in the Grateful Dead book talk about how companies can achieve that kind of mega success, do something that's so remarkable that the world is talking about it.
Marketing lessons from the Grateful Dead, what every business can learn from the most iconic band in history.